Hi everyone, this is Lisbeth Stoll, Cottage Caboodle. I am so excited we get to finally do the fall chicken. So come on in, I'm going to get things ready on my end so that we can be shared to the places we need to be shared to. So let me know you're here and we will get started in just a couple minutes. And I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for being here. This should be a lot of fun. It's just a fun piece. So I'm going to get us shared over into Caboodle Doodles. And Caboodle Doodles is just my little like sharing spot. So people can go in and share what they've got and you know just have fun with it and show off what they've been working on and that kind of thing. And it's just a fun thing, nothing stressful. You could even ask questions in there if you had a question about something. I'm getting this shared over into there. There it is. Let's see if we can do that. There we go. And we are set, I believe. If that didn't go over into Caboodle Doodles, we will later. So that's no problem. But I'm going to get this up so that in case I don't see comments, I can always see them on my phone. So we'll have that going up over here. So welcome. Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I'm so excited for everyone to be here and finally get to do this. I had the chickens. We've done so many different ones. You'll see some up behind me. You can see the polka dot and the patriotic one. I have another one to share with you today if you're maybe just to inspire you. And so it's going to be a great time. So I hope that you're having a great day, a great Tuesday. I have to say that I am a little bit envious of all of the rest of you. I'm in Washington State and oh my goodness, it's warm again today. So we're hoping for a little reprieve tomorrow. So hopefully everything is going well where you're at. So we've got our fall chicken. It's got a lot of pieces. One of the things that I recommend is to have everything just base coated and ready to go with black. So if you don't have that, it's no problem. This video is not going to go anywhere. I will make sure that it is uploaded as an upload rather than a live video. I'm also going to be putting this over on my YouTube channel. Hi, Melinda. It's hot there in Oregon too. Yeah, it's hot here. Hi, how are you, Vanessa? Big hugs to you, friend. So we're going to be working on this little chick. The only prep was to have it all black and all base coated black. This little chicken is so much fun. There's room for them just any old place because they take up just a little tiny 3-inch spot. So hi, Liz. So it is a perfect thing to just add into your holiday, decor or your seasonal decor, and you can personalize it. You can, just do all kinds of things to it. So I just love that part of it. Are you kidding me, Carol? Now that just flat out makes me a little bit miffed. We were in Oklahoma City last week and it was about 3 degrees short of the surface of the sun. It was so hot. And now it's in the low 70s and I'm sitting here in the 90s. So yeah, no thanks. Glennis, I'm jealous. I'm really jealous. So good morning. Your package was delivered. Yay! So that is very good. Now, this video is going to be over and over something that you can take a look at. Like I said, it will be here. It will be on YouTube. It's going to be available. So don't get stressed out if you have to leave. Hello, Linda. It ticks you off too, Carol. I know. Even though we were inside at a convention, it was miserable going outside. So, oh, good. We had, that COVID put me in a little bit of a spin. So we got them out as quick as we could, but with both of us sick, it just, when you're a 1.5 person business, sometimes the dragon wins. So You're just watching now. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we're going to be doing a couple of little things, but these I like to call certain things that we do elements because you can use them over and over and over in different things that you do, and it just doesn't get easier than that. So hi Linda, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am going to get started because we have a lot to cover, a lot to cover. If for some reason this goes a little bit longer than, say, 2 hours, what I will do is give you a break and I'll get back on maybe later today or something so that it's broken up into a couple of chunks. If not, hopefully we can power through. It's not as many things as you think. It just kind of depends on questions and that kind of stuff too. So that's kind of the lay of the land. I am going to be painting with DecoArt Americana paints. If you don't have the exact colors I'm using, don't stress it. Don't stress it. I can help you find something that's just pretty close. Drop it in the comments and I will do my best to see those and take a look at all the comments so that we can keep up on those. If not, I will come back and I'm sorry, I got a message and I wanted to make sure it wasn't somebody trying to find this. So, but what we'll do is we'll just get it taken care of, I promise. I promise, promise, promise. So we're going to go through step by step. So hello, Barb. Hi, Anita. Welcome, Sandy. Hello, hello. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you so much. So I'm Lizbeth Stoll. If you don't know, I'm Lizbeth Stoll. I have Cottage Caboodle. My favorite thing in the world is to help others feel comfortable painting, gain some confidence painting. I don't call it one thing or another. I like the folk art side of it. I tend to call it toll painting because that nods to our historic roots. Do you know that toll means tin? And people would paint on old tins that were empty that they used for, they got food in or something, and decorate their home with it. It's just a basic history of vintage thrifting and flipping and all of that stuff, and I love that part of it. Hi, Sue. So I tend to call it toll painting because of that, but you can call it what you want. I think of it as just, kind of country painting or just something that you do for fun. And I'm here to give you some ideas to go into. Oh, I'm so, so jealous of Cool, Ohio. But what I want is for you to feel comfortable using some of these tips and techniques to put onto your own things. So that is who I am. We're going to spend the next couple of hours getting our little fall chicken done, and feel free to ask questions and stuff if you haven't taken a class from me. If you're not following me on Facebook, I would love it if you did. Also, this was advertised on Craft Round the Clock. So if you are not a member of Craft Round the Clock, it's a free group. From early in the morning until late at night, there are people sharing what they love and what they know how to do and sharing that with you. It's totally, completely free. You just go over, ask to join, answer a couple of questions that just keep the group, free of some of those rough and tumble people that make our lives just a little bit grumbly. And so you're welcome, though, over there, and encouraged, if you're interested, to go over there and take a look. So let's get started. I'm going to turn my camera down and let's get this set so that we're a little bit better in the camera. And it's been a little bit of a crazy time. I had COVID, my husband's been sick, we were at OKC, and I may have to take away the picture of me just so that we can see. So, but know that I'm here. I'm here. I'm going to take it away though so that you have a clear picture of what we're painting, because that's why you're here. That is for certain why you're here. So you've got this little guy. It's got all of these little parts and pieces, and then on the back is even more. So this is going to be something that you can display so that it's seen from both sides. If you want, you could switch it around every so often. So I am too. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good morning. Good morning, Casey. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Robin, Leslie. Hill Country, Texas Tollers. Hello, hello. And Linda, hello. So welcome, you guys. Welcome. Again, I'm Lizbeth Stull. I have Cottage Caboodle. I love to paint and help others gain some confidence in painting and maybe learn something a little bit different or new. And we all have some different ways of doing things. So I'm going to start just getting my brush warmed up. I haven't painted yet this morning. It is 8 o'clock in the morning, my time in Tacoma, Washington, and I need to get my brush warmed up. So I'm going to grab a little bit of Hauser medium green. If you don't have Hauser, New Leaf would work, any kind of medium tone of green. This is just a little bit grayed. This is a little bit brighter, and either one would work out just fine. I'm going to get some Hauser medium out. I am going to be using just a very small amount of paint because it is 90 degrees here. I have a ceiling fan on. We've got lots of fans going on in the house. I've got a little bit funky lighting because I had to close the blinds on my windows because the sun shines in. So you get the picture. You get the picture. So I'm just taking a little bit of water on my liner brush, and I'm not making it real runny. I just want to thin that out so that I can really do a nice job getting my my lines done. We've got no wing on the back side, but we have 2 wings in the kit. Okay, so you could use it as an opportunity to kind of practice. I did base coat both sides. There is a right and a wrong side to the wing. One side's a little bit different. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make that much difference. It will make a difference though on the front side because your etched line is you're gonna want that to match up. So for the one you're going to use on the front, let's see here. There we go. We're just going to use the one side. I got a smudge on there, so I'm not going to use that one. Since I have 2, as luck would have it, okay? When I do a grid line like this, one of the things that I like to do, hi Darlene, I just love these. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I'm going to take and do a line right down the middle. What that does is when you're doing a plaid or a grid line, it helps to center it right away. And then from that middle line, I'm just evenly going to stripe this. Okay, just all one direction. It's just a lot easier. Then when I go this way, I'm going to do the same thing. Notice that this one is a little bit bigger than this one. I've got my lines with less space. That's okay. That's okay. We don't need it to be exactly the same as the original. It can be a little different. Now I put some water with my paint, so as it dries, it's going to get a little bit softer, and it just is going to, kind of mellow out. Now, if I were doing a plaid, I'd want this. Good morning, Janet. If I was doing a plaid, I would want this all to dry so that the intersections where I go over other colors is going to be darker. But with grid, it's not as critical because these are little thin lines, and if someone's looking that close at your piece, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. And we want this to look homespun. I'm going to put a little line up there. Now granted, that one's a little bit closer, but I think it looks better than having a lot more of that black showing. So in my private group last night, we have a private group that meets every Monday. So pretty soon we'll have Sparkle and Shine open for new members. It meets every Monday, so we paint together every single week. And we were talking about just that and how, the overlapping watered down paint gets a little bit deeper, and that gives you some opportunities to do things a little bit different. And before I get too far into this, I did just get over COVID, so if I start to cough, I am going to take a drink of water. So please forgive me in advance. If you've got earbuds in, please make sure that you are you know, adjusting accordingly, because I'll try and give you some info or some, you know, intel and a warning, but you never know. So I'm going to take a little bit different brush. This is just a filbert brush. It's got a little bit of a rounded tip, and I'm going to also go in just a scooch so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to load that brush. I first want to get my brush wet. It takes water to make paint move, so if my brush isn't wet, it tends to drag and then it's harder to control. And I'm going to go just around this edge with that green on my button, because on the original I have a cute little button, and I want the outside edge to be green. You can use any colors in your palette. If you want to leave it black, you can. We'll be sanding this, so it's going to be fine to paint it any color in the palette. A palette's just a fancy way of saying the colors that you're going to use, and we're going to use these. I'm just going to go around the edge because this will be seen from the side. And just, sorry about that, I'm out of the camera. And I'm just going over that edge. So that goes pretty quick. And we can always touch that up if we want. It's drying already. And you don't have to even go over every single spot. You just go over a few. So while we have that green out, we've got some other things that we can do. Good morning, Patty. Welcome, welcome. And I've got on my filbert brush, I've got this Hauser medium. It's not got a lot of paint on it, and I want to make these look like fall leaves. We should have them painted black, and I'm just going to take, without a lot of paint in there, see how it's kind of just sketchy. That's what I want. And I'm just going to go over this. Some is with the grain. You can see that I'm really dry brushing right now. So I'm going to go in with a little more paint. When I load my brush, if I go to my paper towel and just sweep that brush one way and then the other, I'm getting just a little bit of that paint off the tips, so that when I go here, I don't want a full coverage. I want just a little bit, just a wee bit, okay? And then if I want a little more coverage like this, I can add just a tiny bit of water. And I have just a little drop on my bucket of water that has one side for clean and one side for dirty. And I can pick up just enough water to help that move. But I'll put some green on there, and as I get to the other colors, then I will also put those colors on. We have one more area that's got some grid on it, and we'll go to that. That little top base. So the smaller one, I've added a circle on here. You didn't have it in your kit. You don't need it, but we're going to put, I'm going to do the checks on the base of this one. So a little bit different, but not much. So I'm going to do the grid on that smaller of the two circles. And just know that it looks like my comments are getting a little bit wonky. So if I don't answer you, I will, I'll take a look at them after we're done. So I'm getting some of it. The pumpkins was a separate kit. The fall was a separate kit. It is available on the website. I'm 99.99% certain. It's $4 for that kit. I'm going to go through the center of this, just like that. And then just like I did on the wing, I'm going to work to the right, just because I'm right-handed. You could work to the left. I'm not matching it up with the wing. It doesn't need to be perfectly matched or anything. I'm going to turn this around. I see that I got a little bit of paint in that slot, and I'm just going to soak it up with the tip of my brush, because I don't want anything in there that's going to help to make it too snug and not fit when I go to put my chicken in there. So you can always use a little piece of sandpaper, your gator sander, you know, a nail file, anything like that, and get that extra paint. But if you don't have to worry about it, then you don't have a problem. Is there a Christmas kit yet? Oh, gee, that was really sneaky, Glennis. That was sneaky. right there. That was sneaky. No, there's not one yet. Do you notice how some of my regulars, they kind of bully? Just kidding. Just kidding, sweet friend. No, there probably will be because, you know, I'm sort of obsessed with all this and I may have even promised that and just forgot about it. But, you know, a Christmas one sounds like a great idea to me. Patty, this is a one-liner. It's, you know, a 0 or a one-liner is kind of my go-to for the average stuff. I saw you, Glennis. I saw you. I know. I got my eye on you. I got my eye on you. Funny. No, I just kind of got carried away with the chickens. And, you know, I don't know if I'm having farm envy or what, but I'm just going to say there will be a cow soon. And I was working on a part for the cow. The cow is a little bigger. Look at this sunflower. How fun is that? So, just a little sneak peek at maybe what could be coming in a little fall action soon. So, so there you go. Okay, let me see a heart if you think that a cow with a sunflower might be a good idea. Just let me see. So, I use Jasonia brushes, and I use artist quality brushes, and the reason I do it that way is because I want to get as consistent results as possible. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys like it. I see some hearts. I see some smiles. Oh, Patty, I like it too. I like it too. So we've got these other parts and pieces, and we've kind of got our brush warmed up. That is a good thing. I'm going to set my leaves off to the side, and we're gonna go dive right into our pumpkin. And the pumpkin is not hard. It might feel a little bit intimidating, but please don't feel that if you possibly can help it. So, but we've got this pumpkin, and this is a pumpkin that is, first of all, the pumpkin that I used originally is the cutest pumpkin on the planet, right? Bring on the farm. Bring on that farm. This is the cutest pumpkin ever. But okay, so I am not someone who frequents Dollar Tree a lot. There are a few things that I buy there. You know, they're white fluffy towels. I love these. They're in the auto department. I love those for wrapping pieces and stuff, but I don't frequent them for surfaces. A lot of people do. And this was something I got at the Dollar Tree, but I could never find them again with that cute little curly swoopty. Okay. Well, in the end, I found these. These are from Amazon, and they had holes in them. Well, last night when I was base coating mine, I got that hole full of paint, and I thought, fine, I don't mind if there's a hole there. I just would tie some jute through there or something just to kind of camouflage it. But if I get some paint in there and it was hot as Africa like last night, it dried in there really quick. So that was fine. That was fine. So yeah, we have a little funky farm that could absolutely come about. I would love to see I want to do the cow, but I also would love to see a sheep. So I have this other affinity for sheep. Okay, on our pumpkin, you're going to use some different colors, and really what you need is a light orange and a dark orange. Now I'm going to give you a couple of different options. There is one that is more of the like if you have primitive or country painting or something like that, I think that it is going to be something that you would really enjoy. This is Red Spice and Sunset, Warm Sunset. Okay, so those two colors are really, really pretty together. But that's, if you like a little bit brighter look, I would go with Canyon Orange and Fresh Mango. and but you're going to use them in the very, very same way, okay? They're not going to be in a different, anything different. You could also add a little bit of tangerine in there and use the fresh mango as your highlight, something like that. So you can do either one. I'm going to be using that darker combo because that's what I did before. I'm going to go back to that filbert brush that has that rounded tip on it, and I'm going to just get out a little bit of warm sunset and a little bit of red spice. I'm going to scoot this over and see if we can get both on the camera. Let's see here. E-I-E-I-O. Yep. I grew up, for us, where I lived, my mom was from South Dakota. Those have real farms back in states unlike Washington, or especially Western Washington, where there's a whole lot of people. We had 3 acres though, and so everybody thought that we had this farm. Well, as you know, that's just a big yard, basically. Not really. We did have a pasture with some horses and stuff. But we would get all, people would think, oh, it's a great idea to get bunnies at Easter time. And then guess who would get the bunnies after Easter? We would. And so I'm going to move this down. I'm not real happy. There we go. And I'm going to take that lighter color, so the warm sunset. I'm going to add a little bit of water just to kind of thin it down, because I want this to look streaky and have some depth to it. So it's not gonna, we're gonna have some of that black showing through and all of that. So good morning, Colleen. You grew up on a farm in Eastern Washington? Yes. It's hot there right now for sure. I didn't know. Oh, I guess that makes sense, because you're in Idaho now, aren't you? And we're going to take and use the shape of this brush. I'm going to start in the middle because my brush is juicy, and then I'm going to start just following the shape of the pumpkin. Notice that it is not perfectly base coated. I don't want it to be perfectly base coated. I want it to be sketchy and yucky and be surprising that somehow this could turn into this, okay? So we're going to let that be, and with that same brush, I'm going to turn this around, but this time I'm going to get a little tiny bit of water. I didn't wash it out, and I'm going to pull out some of that red spice, so the deeper, darker. Yeah, so that makes sense. That makes sense. My husband was born in Yakima. He wasn't raised there, but he was born there, and so Eastern Washington, for those of you who don't know, Eastern Washington and Western Washington are like 2 different states. And there are some people in Eastern Washington that would love it if we really were. You've got on one side of the mountains this coastal area on the west side, and it's very heavily populated and all of that. Whereas in Eastern Washington, that's where you get your apples and your Washington cherries and all of that stuff. So it's a lot of farmland. And people sometimes don't know that, and the Cascades divide it all down the middle, pretty much. But you can imagine there's just different needs and wants and things, and so it would be nice if everybody could have what they wanted. But I'm going to dry this just like this. And this is just a heat tool. It's not a hair dryer necessarily. It just, and honestly, a hair dryer works fine. I just prefer this because I'd rather hear you, or have you hear me rather than, having to talk over something. You're far north of Spokane. Oh, yeah. I have good friends up in that area. Colfax and Bonners Ferry, is that right? So we've got that dry. So now we can go over it and do the same thing. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to grab a little more of that warm sunset, a little bit of water, not a lot, and I just want to build that color. And I should have started in the middle, so do what I say, not what I just did. And because that's when I want my color brightest, so I want to start with my color in the center of those sections. So when my brush is freshly loaded, start in the center and work to where those little creases are going to be. Now there's a way to fix that if you didn't do that, so don't fret. Don't fret. Bonner's in Idaho? Yeah, I knew, you know, I've driven that way so many times, especially as a child, to go to South Dakota and visit family and stuff. South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, all of that, Kansas. Okay, so you can see how it just starts to build up. And I know that you're saying, oh, you make that look so easy if you haven't done something like this before. But just light touch, don't be too fussy about it, and just add a little bit of paint at a time, okay? I'm going to turn this around, and then with that same dirty brush, I'm going to load that red spice. I didn't even add any water really. There's still water in my puddle. And I'm just doing the same thing, but up from the bottom with that deeper color. And I just think it's such a pretty, pretty color. We are going to highlight this a little bit more. Okay. And this time I didn't go all the way to the edge. And I don't know why. I did on the original. No real reason. No real reason. Where in South Dakota? My mom was from a little town called Bonesteel that is right near the border, pardon me, of Nebraska and Iowa, down in the southeast corner. And it's just a little tiny town, but that's where, well, we still have the family homestead there. It is hot again today, yeah. Oh, no worries, Denise, no worries. This is, you know, recorded, so you're good. You're good. Now, I like it when it's not exactly all the way covered. To me, that looks pretty good. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to show you how to put in some of those separations again if you need to. But while this is drying, I'm going to get out milk chocolate, and that's just a medium brown. If you don't have milk chocolate, say you have burnt umber, add a little bit of, you know, like the orange to it or something, or one of the yellows that you might have out, or honey brown, add a little of that to it. That will help you to get just a little bit lighter color. Oh, good, Denise. It's really a simple way to do a pumpkin. You can do a pumpkin on a flat piece of wood. You don't have to have a cutout for it either. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that freshly loaded brush, and I swept it off on my paper towel, and I'm just going to use the end of it and just kind of sweep on some brown. We'll put some more on there, but for right now, just a little bit of brown. And while I have that brown in that brush, if I wanted to, I could even go up through those vein line, or not the veins, but where the ribs of the pumpkin kind of recede, and put a little bit of that in there. It's just a little bit, it's not going to blend. It doesn't matter if it blends to me. That's okay. But I had some of that in my brush. So I'm going to get out just a drip of lamp black and just tap that into that dirty brush. And then right where I went on that, I can use, oops, moved it. I can put a little bit of that dark back in if I need. Okay, I was pretty happy with it, But you guys, I wanted you to see how to fix it if you needed to fix it. So that's why we're doing that. Again, if you're wondering what in the world happened to her lighting, I had to close my blinds because it's so warm, and so I'm trying to pay attention to it. But you can also do it from down here and just do a little bit of that darker color. We'll let that dry and then we'll come back to it. And some of the other Midwest girls, oh my goodness, oh, we would be having a lot of fun. But yeah, I have to tell you, here is, I never did live back there. And although I had a blast when we would go and visit, I am a water girl. Where I live, within 2 hours, I can be in the mountains, at the ocean. I can be at a desert, or I can be in a rainforest. And I love that. And also, I don't think I could be, we're just a couple miles from saltwater, and I grew up on boats and things. My dad always had a boat, and I kind of get almost a panic feeling if I think about not living near saltwater. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I love to visit there, though. Don't get me wrong, love to visit there. And I know that there's lakes and things, but I just love the Pacific Northwest for sure. And then I'll come back up after that with that extra little bit of shading, go over it with those same two colors, and I'm just blending that in a little bit, but not too much paint. If you end up with real solid coverage, remember, go back to your paper towel and sweep that across back and forth just to get the extra off. Okay, so that's the way to put those little ribs back in, or that texture back in. I'm going to put a little bit more. It's a little bit dark for me. And just until you like it, that's all that matters. Yeah, you have lots and lots of lakes. It's, it's just different. And, we're going to our friend's lake property this weekend. And they have 10 acres, and we certainly have had a blast there. It's up in the mountains. It's about, 10 minutes from where my husband grew up. And it's just a lot of fun up there. We go every Memorial Day and Labor Day. And lots of fun. Just lots of fun. I'm going to get out some honey brown. Now, honey brown is a nice way of saying kind of a mustard color. So it's just a lighter tan, but it's got a lot of yellow in it. I'm going to just put a little tip in my brush. You can maybe see that there's just a tiny bit of paint in there. And I'm just going to add a little bit on that chisel edge. Now, a filbert brush, if you don't know what brush to use, grab a filbert, because it is like a flat brush in that it's narrow, but it's also got the round tip like a round brush. And it's just about, I'm going to go up against the black. There you go. It's just about the perfect choice if you're not sure what to use. So now I want to highlight that pumpkin just a skosh, and there's all kinds of choices that I could make. I could use another color, I could use just a totally different color, or I can take what I've got and add a little bit of a bright to it. So I'm going to take Sunset Gold. It's just a bright kind of a gold color. Oh, for Boohoo! Sandy, you've been invited to the group. So the group has the pattern and the Zoom information already in it. Look in your messenger for an invite to the group, and send me a private message. If you don't see it, I'll send it again, but I know I invited you. So take a look, and we'll get you in the group. I'm just mixing that lighter orange, the warm sunset, with a little bit of that sunset gold, just to make it a little bit brighter. You can see it's just a little brighter. Then I'm going to go back and sweep on my paper towel so that I get the majority of that off. And then I'm going to go to the center for real and for true this time. And I'm just going to sweep a little bit of that over that top part and bring one side just a little ways down. And you can play with this because, you know, you get it too bright. What are you going to do? You're going to go back, let it dry, go back with some of that brighter, or with that base coat color, you know, and just put that on there and it will tone it right back down. So don't get too worried. Plus we're going to have a little bit of a coverage when we have our leaves and such on there. So there you go. So that's going to be our pumpkin. That's about it on it. Okay, so something that looks real intimidating at first glance is really pretty simple. It's not something that's real, you know, real hard. It's just a simple little, I call them doofer, a little simple doofer pumpkin. It will do for a pumpkin. I didn't take any of the black, and I just want to add a little bit of that to make it so that my pumpkin stem isn't quite so solid. It does give it depth. It really does. It really does. And that's just a simple way to do pumpkins for sure. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to get back my little leaves because I want to, and my button, because I want to make sure that I get some of those other fall colors on there. So I'm going to get a little bit of that red spice and sweep it on my paper towel and then put some of that on there. It always ends up surprising because it's a little bit different when it goes on the background in a real sheer way. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. It's, you know, something that's so simple to do on something. You know, one of the things I was showing the Sparkle and Shine Gals, my subscription group, last night, one of the pieces that I have finished for next session. So here is next session. So there you see the pumpkin, and we're going to do it in a little framed thing. It says you pick pumpkins, and this is one of the pieces that we'll be doing next session, and it hangs from a little muslin hanger, but same kind of an idea. Okay. Also, I was the person who was always, when, I don't know, I imagine that most areas of the nation, your younger school kids go to pumpkin patches, and we always did, and we got to always pick a pumpkin, and I was usually the last one to, you know, finally pick my pumpkin because I wanted the one that nobody else would pick. I wanted it to be a little bit, I didn't need it perfect. I wanted it to be, you know, like every other kid, big, and I wanted it to be different. So okay, I will invite you again, Sandy. I will invite you again. It might have expired, but I know I invited you over the weekend. Or I've gone through it several times. So, okay, so I'm going to now tip into a little bit of that lighter color, that warm sunset, and then I'll just add a little bit here and there of that. Now, if I get it too, you know, with too many of the colors I don't exactly want, I can always go back to another one and say, oh, you know, I think I kind of like that. I just want it to look like a fall leaf. And I am going to be putting, I'm going to be sanding it and stuff. And we've got a couple other colors to go through. I'm going to tip into some of that honey brown and just kind of pull up off the edge in a couple of places. And then I've got my deep burgundy I want to put on there, so I'll just put some of that and have some of those colors show through. And then when you sand it, it's gonna be a surprise. It does have character, and you can always put a face on it too. This is one I played around with for Halloween, and it's the same kind of a pumpkin, but I put a face on it. I used the same kit, I added this little bead and some covered wire to make a little spider. So you can see that. And then on the back, I haven't dry brushed over the eyes, but it's just got a piece of drop cloth for the little thing. So you can do all kinds of things, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so we've got that one taken care of. I didn't put any of the kind of orange in the center, so I'm going to do that. I got some red spice, and I just tipped off. I'm not going to be able to hold this very well and have it so that you can see, but I've got red spice, and so I'm just going to put pretty much just a light kind of scruffy base coat on there, and I'll let that dry. Thanks, Denise. Yeah, it's kind of fun just playing around with these. I'm going to tip into that lighter orange, that warm sunset, sweep it on my paper towel a little bit, and then just in the middle, sweep through and make that, sorry about that, I know I'm blocking you, make it a little brighter. I got a little bit extra up on the, it's already dry, so I'm going to get a little bit of green, and just where I got that orange up on the rim, I'm just going to kind of go over that orange. It's not going to show all that much, but I want to help it to kind of fall back. Okay, so we've got that part done. Let's see here. We've got the pumpkin done. We've got the leaves almost done. Let's slide those up over here so we can get those leaves done. How about we go, let's see here. Let's go over to our big chicken. Big chicken. And we're going to take some of the same colors we used for the pumpkin in a very similar way. And I'm going to go over and put on, I'm going to load my brush with red spice and sweep it on my paper towel, and I'm using the chisel edge of that. Okay, I'm going to go up over here. And I'm just going to sweep on that chisel edge some of that red spice. So kind of, let's see here, let's get this up there. So same kind of idea, same kind of idea. Again on the chisel. And I'm just going over it. I don't want it solid, I want some of that black showing. And once I have some of that red spice on, I'm going to then load my brush in warm sunset, sweep it on my paper towel, get it off of that very tip, and then I can go through and put some of that on. But I still want those other colors. I'm not covering the colors, I'm just enhancing and adding to. You can even come up from the bottom if you need to, just to get some color. I would do that with the brighter colors, not with maybe the deeper, darker ones. Okay, so we've got that on there. And then I'm going to take some of that highlight color I used on the pumpkin, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I've got now 3 different shades, lickety split. It's going to go with my piece because I already have it in the pumpkin, so it's going to all look like it goes together. Okay, it's going to look like it belongs. Okay, and then we've got a little bit of red. So at first I tried the deep burgundy and it was a little bit too deep. and it didn't show up as much. So I'm going to get out my Santa Red and my deep burgundy because I am going to need it here just shortly. And I will, but I'm going to go in with the deep burgundy, hopeful but not optimistic that it's going to show up. And on that chisel, I'll just pull in some. It's showing up better than I remember it showing up when I did the original. So that might be enough. That might be enough. Now, when I did the original, I did not have the extra piece for the wattle and the comb. Vanessa, if you are still here, if you are still here, she did the cutting for me, and these wattles, we had a not appropriate way of saying those wattles because we kept ending up short with them, and oh, it got to be comical. So those I didn't use the wattle or the comb piece like you've got, but it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't necessarily need to have them. Not at all. And while I've got that red in here, let's not forget our little leaves, okay? And we're just gonna put a little bit of that deep burgundy on here and kind of mess these up. And I used to make fall leaves. Each one was a little bit different, even though it looked like they were from the same tree. And I live real close to an area where people come and look at all the maple trees lining the street because it looks like a big, whatever color they turn that year, it looks like a big tunnel. And notice that all those trees that were in the same area were turning the same colors. And so I kind of do my leaves a little bit different now. So I know these look a mess, but they're going to be better. And I'm going to take a little tiny bit of that really bright yellow and just on a couple of little spots pull in a little bit of that brightness, just barely on an edge or two. Just a little bit, just a little wee bit. Okay, so that's pretty much, you could add the yellow to the tail if you wanted, but it's certainly not necessary. Now I'm going to go with one of the combs and one of the wattles, but make sure that they fit where you want them to. I will be doing both sides, so I'm going to place one for the front. Okay, so this one is going to be just like that on the front. Let me get this out of the way. So these are for the front, and then I'm going to flip my chicken over and fit it for the back. So that fits that way, so that's for the back, and that one fits that way, so that one's for the back. So I've got the sides up that I need to paint. Okay, and what I want to do is tip that filbert brush, and this is again still that 8 filbert. I'm going to sweep it off a little bit on my paper towel, and then I'm going to use the shape of that brush to just almost like those pumpkins again, right? Just back and forth, just a little sweep of color. So I'll do that on here. This is the first coat, so don't get tempted to really base coat it, okay? We're just giving it a little bit of color. Now I really should have turned that around because it would have been a lot easier. So we're going to learn from that mistake, which is not something I always am able to do real well. I learned the hard way. Anybody else like that? So just a little dry brush to get some color on there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over the top of this and just get a little more brightness, okay? Not a lot, just a little. And I don't want it all looking the same. So we'll keep that going like that. We've got, did I put the, I didn't do, you could do the tail on the back if you wanted. I did not. I just did an outline on the back. So, but you could do the tail the same way. You could. Okay. So we are doing good. We are doing really good. So we've got all of those parts and pieces done. While we're waiting for some of that to dry, I want to take and put my base together just to have a visual on it and see how much space is showing around the outside edge. So what I'm going to do, oops, I'm going to not paint on the floor, which is fine. That's no problem. And what we're going to do is take this off, and I'm going to use one of the oranges to just check the bottom. See how that's checked? I think what I'm going to do, I think I used red spice on that one, but I'm going to try the warm sunset just because I think it would look fine with a little bit brighter orange as well. Orange is a color that either, I feel like, either you like it or you don't. It's not one that people usually say, oh, it's all right. You know, they usually have an opinion about orange for sure. An opinion. Okay, so I'm going to get just a small flat, probably a 4. You could even use a 6. I was going to talk about brushes a little bit earlier, and the perfect brushes are brushes that work for you, except, oh, here's a 4. Here is a 4. Except poor quality brushes are going to render poor quality results. Now, that doesn't mean that all of your brushes have to be expensive. It just means that they have to be nice enough quality to hold an edge. And when I talk about an edge, that's the main thing that you use a lot of brushes for. And when you're, I'm going to show you with a, let's see here. I'm going to give you a non-example and an example so you can see the difference. I am looking for, so here's a flat brush. Doesn't have a lot of built up paint. But what I'm looking for is when I get it wet and then hold it on a paper towel and get that moisture out, does it hold a sharp edge? See how that's got a nice sharp edge and all those bristles hold together? That's what I'm looking for. Whereas if I go with one that is either worn out or of poor quality, I get it wet, touch it to my paper towel, and see how it does not hold an edge. It's kind of fluffed out. It's not going to do what I want it to do. And so that's one indication of a poor quality brush. Now I know that these are poor quality brushes because I buy them for decoupage and just kind of as a disposable brush. They're $1, not even $1 a piece. And but you just want to make sure that you've got, you can have both kinds, but just know that there's oftentimes with brushes, you get what you pay for within reason. You don't need to be spending a ton of money on brushes, but you get what you pay for. So I'm going to take these little checks with my 4 flat, and I'm just going to make some little rectangles all the way around the center, or around the outside edge. I'm pretending like I'm cutting a pie and I'm aiming towards the center. I don't want to aim towards a right edge or a left edge. I want it to be in the center, and I want these to be long enough so that I'm not going to see the start spot when I put that second layer on it. Now you could use any pattern, any repetitive pattern that you wanted on this edge. I just chose a check because it goes pretty fast and I like it. You have several that should be retired. Do you know, Cheryl? Oh, this is an ugly little secret. I have given away brushes, like when I worked at the school, I took some in. I've given them to people who paint rocks, but I have never, 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 that I recall, maybe once or twice, thrown away a brush. It's bad. I just feel like they're old friends, I guess, and I have bins and buckets full. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to check it and make sure. But notice how on this black background, how that mellows out right away and gets sheer. You always cut crooked. Well, you can cut a little bit crooked, Denise, but you know, just know that you aren't going to be able to choose the biggest piece. So, you know, this is just, I don't know, Patty. I don't know. Some things. You know what else? And this is okay. You guys are going to think I'm absolutely crazy. The other thing I have, and I'm just checking to make sure that that check shows all the way around, and it does. So I'm going to set that off to the side. The other thing I have a terrible time throwing away, and I know it's ridiculous. I know it is, but it's dog toys. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just do, and I feel like I'm gonna hurt my dog's feelings or something. Never mind that they get a bark box every single month. And if you haven't seen bark boxes, I would, find a friend who gets them. I want to sit around that table where they talk about themes every month. I just tipped into a little bit of Santa Red just to brighten this a little bit. And I just want a little bit more red on there. Not a lot, just a little. And I just can't. Oh, that's a good idea, Denise. That's a really good idea. That is a really good idea. It's just, it's hard. It's really hard. But after, being of an age where my parents were divorced, and when they both passed, I had 2 estates to deal with, and you see those things that were important to them. Those are hard things to throw away or to get rid of or give away even. And I'm going to take some of this red and put it on a leaf. I don't know that I need that. I don't need it. I'm not going to do that. And then when I've got this little bit of Santa Red on there, maybe I'll put a little more because I kind of like how that looks on some of them. I don't need to have it everywhere. Just like that. Just a little bit of variation in color. I know, I've got so many dog toys, and I think, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care, but you need to sew. That's so funny. And so, yeah, it is what it is. I should have them. My mom used to make up all kinds of stories about giving my toys away for kids who didn't have them and all of that stuff. But my dogs don't sort through their toys. That would sound even crazier, wouldn't it? So I've got that red on there. I've got the deep burgundy on there, and I'm going to tip into a little bit of that that warm sunset. And I'm just going to use that edge, and it doesn't really matter which side too much, but I'm just going to put a little bit of that orange like it's catching the light. And it's not a lot of paint, but it is going to, and it doesn't even need to be on the right side. This one's on a different side. That's okay. And then I'm just going to put a little bit on the front side of that wattle. Okay, and then when that dries, then I've got my little wattles. I've got those done. And if you need to spruce up, ooh, not that way, or add some orange to your leaves, if you got, like I did, a little bit carried away, you can do that too. And I've lost pretty much my green on my leaves, but you'll get the idea. You'll get the idea. Okay, so we're gonna rinse that little brush out. So we've got our pretty much our front side done. I do want to add a little bit while it's still, I can get some paint out of this. I'm going to go into my green real quick and just sweep it off because I want a little bit of green on my leaves, and I lost all that. I don't need a lot, but I don't want it to not have green because that's still going to tie that in. And then I can live with those. I don't need to get too fussy. I'm not being too particular, but I do want that color on there, and so that it all looks like it goes together. So there you go. So those leaves are, I'm going to call those done. Okay. And the last thing we have to do on the front side is our little pumpkins. And those little tiny pumpkins, see those pumpkins? I'm going to show you how I did them, and then pretend like I can hear you going ooh and ah in the background, because you're going to be so excited to see how easy they are. Okay, just such a nice way to do some little pumpkins, and then I'll show you how I space them out and stuff. But we're just going to do a practice one, and I'm going to use a big brush. We're not going to use a big brush when we do them for real, but we are going to do one when I'm for practice. So what I'm going to do on my surface when I have my, when I'm getting my surface ready, so let's pretend like this is our chicken, and then we've got, it's not quite this way, but you get the idea. And then we don't need to have the tail on there, but okay, so that's basically our chicken shape, right? So we're going to just put some little dots kind of randomly. When we get to it, we're going to do this on our background. We're not going to do the eye right now. We're gonna leave a spot for it though. I know it. It is so hard, Denise. It is so hard. And I have a storage unit still with my mom's stuff. My mom was so practical. She would kick my ever-loving backside if she knew what I was paying every single month for the last, oh gosh, let's see, she passed away in 2012. Yeah. So more than 10 years I've had this storage unit. So I've got these evenly spaced. That's what I'm going to do first. And so I've had this storage unit, and it's ridiculous to pay that. I could have paid for, we don't have a garage. We have a 1917 house and we don't have a garage. If I would have had a garage, it would have been a no-brainer. I could have just used that. But, you know, that stuff is a burden now instead of a treasure. And it's terrible to say, but it's true. It's just something that I need to deal with that I don't want to. And so I don't think I'm alone with that. So we're going to start with the darker color. So in this case, it's going to be red spice. Yes, she would kick my butt. She would absolutely kick my behind. Absolutely. But it's so hard. She refinished furniture. That was her art. And so a lot of those pieces I don't have room for, but they're like family. I remember the double dry sink that's sitting in that storage unit. She brought home in boxes and put it together, and it's a beautiful piece of furniture. Yeah, it's terrible. So I'm going to use my excuse me. I'm going to use a smaller one when I get to the real one. But what I'm going to be doing is taking that brush, and like parentheses, I'm going to be going around those dots, okay? And what I want them to do is face different directions. I'm sure you can see how this is going to become a pumpkin already, right? But you just want them facing different directions. And they're not perfect. I'm just plopping down some little plops of paint facing different directions. Now I don't have my, I'm going to go outside the lines there because I can. I didn't want to make any of them upside down, but you could, if you wanted, you could. But that's all we're going to do, and then we're going to let that dry, okay? So those will dry. That's right, it is. It is so, so, so hard. But you know, my mom was, I was lucky. She was a hoarder for sure, in that she kept a lot of stuff, but she was organized and neat about it. There was no, you know, there was no turning sideways to get through the living room or anything like that. It was just a lot of stuff. And, you know, it's hard. Yeah, it's difficult. And, you know, the memories remain. It's the stuff, you know, that they're tied to. And I'm an only child. I don't have a lot of family left. So who am I going to, you know, who am I going to leave it to if there's not other family members that want it? So, okay. So here is the dark color. So now we're going to put on the light. Only we just need that center section. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard. So we're going to put a little, just a little set down. Yeah. You know, Glennis, I had literally from Disneyland e-tickets left over from when they had ticket books. And, you know, you had tickets left in your ticket book because you didn't go on certain categories of rides. I had that. I had triptychs. Remember in AAA, I think they still do it actually. You get these little books that have the map of where you're going. It's specific to where you're going, and it has attractions where you want to stop and all that. Okay, so now on this one though, you're going to turn it around because you want that bottom of that pumpkin to look as good as the top. So you're just going to pull in a little bit. We're going to go over this again, and you can fix it up with a little brush. But this is just getting the basic shape on there, and it doesn't get much easier than that. You can do this with a round brush. If you like. And in fact, I really did what we're talking about here. Yeah, the e-tickets. It was fun to see all of that Disneyland memorabilia, you know, that she had all bundled up. And I'm not talking just like in a drawer all together. I'm talking literally bundled up with a ribbon and, you know, any notes she might have taken or where we wanted to go. There was a place that we really enjoyed in Southern California, and it closed when I was young, but it was Japanese Village, and we loved going there. That was a lot of fun, but it didn't last very long. So you'll be able to spruce these up, and then to finish them, you're going to use a little round or liner brush. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, but just with that lighter orange, super easy, right? Super easy these are. Just with that lighter orange or golden sunset or whatever you have handy, or sunset gold. I always get those mixed up. I'm going to just mix a little bit of that warm sunset with sunset gold just to make a lighter orange. And, oh, fun. Have a great time, Denise. Have a great time. And then you can just kind of go over to one side and give these little pumpkins a little highlight. Not a lot of fuss, not a lot of muss. You could even not do this if you didn't want to get that fussy. Not everybody likes all the details. I get it. I do. And it just gives them a little bit of brightness, right? So that's it. And then I'm going to go into my milk chocolate. And with that same brush, there's a water drop there. And I'm just going to pull a little stem, lickety split on each one. I want them to be going different directions so that they look like they're just tumbling little pieces. Ooh, there we go. All right. So we've got those stems on there. Oh, it's just the best. The details, I think, are so fun. I do too. I love little things. I love little things. There's a lot of designers who paint big and then paint little, like if they're going to do a ornament or something. Oftentimes I'll paint little like an ornament and then go big from there. So just a difference. So you're going to put either 2 or 3 leaves on each one of these pumpkins, and I'm just kind of setting down my brush and sliding it just to make kind of a chocolate chip sort of look. Okay, so just a couple leaves, 3 at the most. And just on each one of those little pumpkins. But now you've got something. This is one of those elements. At the very beginning I talked about how I hope that you'll take some of these things that we're going to do and put them in something else. How cute would it be on a gift bag or a card? How cute would it be just to do the inside of a cookie tin, or something, this would even be cute on a denim shirt. Anything, excuse me, where you need a little seasonal touch. And then in the background, it is just that sunset gold. I'm going to, with the end of my brush handle, I'm going to put on an eye. And then I'm going to take either that or smaller, I could get a stylus or something, and in the open areas, that's where I'm going to put those dots. Now, if you're not done with other elements, I wouldn't do this until you are, because you're going to smear those dots, okay? So let's do the chicken so you can see it one more time. Remember, the first thing that we're going to do is on our chicken, we're going to put some little random kind of evenly spaced dots, just making sure that we're not going to interfere with that eye. And then we want them to be spaced, but not too far away. I want one here. So maybe I want one I'll do one here and here and not there. So I get to make some choices. Now black is a little bit of a trick when you have to touch up. And I want to touch up there because I know it's going to show even when I seal. Sometimes it won't when you seal, but this one I can tell it will. When you have to touch up the background with black only, and sometimes darker colors actually, you want to use an absolutely dry brush and put some paint on it. So I'm using a dry brush. That means it's got paint on it, but it doesn't have any water whatsoever. That water will make like a ring of moisture. So if you base coat that background with just paint and no water, it is much less likely to do that. So that's why I did it that way. So now I'm going to go to my smaller my smaller filbert. This is a size 4 filbert. It's just smaller, and so I didn't think you'd be able to see it as well if I did it. That's why I used the cardboard. Yep, Patty, the video will be available. I will have this up in both of my groups, but it will also be something that I will put up on YouTube, and I will upload onto the page, so it's not going to go anywhere. Oops, I'm talking and not paying attention. I'm going to put this way. So I'm just making those parentheses with my red spice. Kind of a parenthesis. Not really, just a little, like opposing little arcs. And I want them to be in different directions. But it's weird how these little shapes turn into something that's recognizable. Let's see here, which way do I want to do it? I'm going to go over that one. There we go. I'm going to warm up the surface of this board so it will dry a little bit faster. Hello, Kethany. Welcome, friend. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here, you guys, and spending some time with me on your Tuesday morning. I appreciate you waiting so very patiently for this class, and I wanted as many people as possible to have their pieces so that if they wanted to, they could paint along or paint them right away after they watched. So thank you for being here. I'm going to tip this same brush into my warm sunset, that lighter orange, and just load it with paint. I don't have a whole lot of extra, but remember, I'm going to just do the center, but I'm going to be coming back from the bottom to neaten that area up. So this one is not going to stand alone this way. It will come up from the other side too, but I'm just putting that little bit on there. And depending on everyone's touch on this, some pumpkins are going to be little and skinny and polka dotty looking. Some are going to be wide and fat, and it just depends on how you stroke these little guys on. But in the end, they look like pumpkins. And it couldn't be simpler, really. I mean, it just is a real simple way to do a little pumpkin shape. Okay, so I'm going to turn these around. They don't have to be dry. And I'm just going to come from the other direction so that they have a nice little rounded little bottom to sit on. Okay, so just from the bottom, just a little boop boop. And it just evens them up. Okay, so we've got those done. Don't quite look like anything yet, do they? Not quite. Not quite. I'm going to go back into that milk chocolate. And with my liner brush, And I'm going to just put a little stem curving on each one of these. If you're just stopping by and you don't know who I am, I'm Elizabeth Stahl. I have Cottage Caboodle. I love to paint and create with paint and other things, so crafting, and I like to teach others to do the same. My background is in teaching, and I taught 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders, and then I also taught teachers to better their practice and did professional development and so forth. So teaching is something that I'm very familiar with, and painting is something else that I love to do, so it just goes together. It just goes together. So now I'm putting on those little leaves here and there. Nothing fussy or real, precise. Just little tiny swishes that you can do 2 or you can do 3. I guess I could do a 3rd up here. Oh, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. So everything I do is recorded, and I make sure that you're going to be able to have it for as long as I possibly can. I don't let my recordings disappear after 30 days unless there's something that they, like if I'm explaining my subscription or something like that, that I don't necessarily think needs to stay around for ever and ever. But if it's something that's content that you might want to see again, maybe it's how to do a fancy chicken, then I will make sure that they're available for as long as I possibly can. And oftentimes are on my YouTube channel too. So now I'm to the point where I can put on my little eye. I've got a hair, there we go. So I'm going to go into Sunset Gold, and I'm going to put on that little eye, and then I'm going to go in between putting on those little polka dots. Now, if you don't want them nearly as bright, you could use golden straw or even honey brown. And there's my little polka dots, okay? So nothing too fussy, but I think those chalk lines at the very beginning really help to get everything placed right. And so we'll get those dry. I've got a hair that keeps bugging me. I had COVID. I tested on Saturday and got a good bill of health on Saturday, but my hair is falling out, and I've heard that about COVID, that you can have that happen. And so it's definitely a reality in my world right now that I'm having I'm shedding, you guys, I'm shedding. So we're going to work on the beak. We're going to work on that beak and get everything done on that. I'm going to go into my gold and with my liner brush. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. And I'm just going to sweep it on there. Now, I got that on there. It's too bright. I'm going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel and sweep through this again, just so that I get some of that deeper color kind of shining through. And then I'm going to take, I'm still not pleased with that, so I'm going to go into my honey brown. It's just a little too bright for my liking, So I'm going to sweep over that with honey brown. And still some of that sunset gold is showing. And I don't have any white or bleach sand or anything like that out. So I'm going to get, we do have a good time in the subscription group. You guys, I have to, I can't tell you one thing about the subscription group that describes it any better than what I'm about to say. And that is more than half of the people that are in the current subscription group have been there since we started. And we started in January of 2021. So they've painted with me every single Monday for that long. And, you know, like I said, I can't say enough about, you know, that more than half of that group are original people. And that pretty much describes the value, it describes the teaching, it describes everything better than I can tell you. So we'd love to have you. It's always a welcoming place. We get together early on Mondays so that we can visit and get caught up on each other's lives, and it's just a lot of fun. There's always something, and I am purposeful in my teaching, so it's not just painting, it's actually I'm thinking about what I want to reinforce or teach, or you know, a new technique. I just dotted a little black dot in the middle of the eye. I like it so that the black dot isn't right in the center, and so it makes it look warmer, not as beady-eyed. So there you go with that. We've got our all of those things done now. We've got all the front stuff done. I'm just double checking, making sure. So we've got all of those things done, and now I'm going to flip it over, and we've got this stuff done. We're going to have to do the beak and the eye on the back side. I'm not going to flip it over right now because of the dots, but we have one more pumpkin, and we have the letters, okay? And then we have this lettering too. So we're going to leave the stuff from the back, though, that's on the surface, like the beak, the eye, and the lettering, until the very end. And we're going to work on this lettering, okay? So I'm going to slide my chicken over to the side. And, you know, please know that you can always watch the replay and see all of these, each thing on its own, again and again and again, as many times as you want. So we've got pumpkin, P-U-N-K-I-N. So we're gonna see if we can get those. There we go. Let's do it this way so that you know where I'm at, and I know where I'm at. So let's get that over there. Okay. And then this is going to be a pumpkin. So while see, that's a little bit bigger pumpkin though. A little bit bigger. Oh, that's right. You get Mr. Caboodle in all of his finest. So he's pretty funny. He got to go to OKC and meet people in person. He knew their names and oftentimes where they were from because of he does all the shipping. And so that was fun. I know it was fun for him. Honestly, not sure how much fun it was for all of the ladies, but at least he had a good time. So he's a prankster. He loves to joke around. So I swept on those outside edges for this one, but knowing that I had some extra space to fill, I kind of left that center part with a little bit more space than I did on the small ones. So we'll let that dry. Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. He's a good egg. I think I'll keep him around. But he might be. He had to go into the office today, and he hasn't he hasn't worn pants. There's a rumor waiting to happen. in about 3 weeks because he's worn shorts every day. We were either at OKC or he didn't have to go into the office. And last week, because I had COVID, he didn't, but he had been exposed, so he couldn't go to work. And so today, it was quite the shocker when he had to put on pants. Now, I'm just doing that for fun. I didn't highlight my pumpkins on my chicken. I need to do that too, so I'll do that when I do this one. I'm going to go into that warm sunset. He does do a great job at conventions. He really does. He enjoys seeing everybody, and you know, he doesn't want you to think that he's a big old tender-hearted sweet guy. But when we first started doing conventions, or the first one he went to with me, I'm going to just take some of that and put it on the top of the back side. And then I'm going to tip into that golden or sunset gold. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of that on the front of there just to brighten it a little bit. So that one's going to be done. Then while I have that color, that brighter color in here, I'm going to be sorry if I do it with that. But he used to go to the conventions, and because people didn't know his face, believe it or not, this was at Vegas, and I had actually more than one item disappear from our booth, which is very sad considering that, you know, it's painters and stuff. But he was security, and so people didn't know him, and we made, you know, pretty sure that in those early years that a lot of people didn't know him, and on purpose, you know, if they saw us out or whatever, that was one thing. Just a little bit of that light is going to help brighten those up a little bit. I'm being real careful of my dots. But he liked to stand back and listen to what people said, and it just tickled him. It still just makes my jaw drop when I hear people, you know, say, you know, I didn't want to come up. I was embarrassed or whatever. And what? No. If you see me, you come up and you say hello. But he used to love hearing all that. There she is, that kind of stuff. And I still can't believe that even happens, but he thinks that's pretty fun. I'm going to take this and give it a little bit stronger. And there's that pumpkin, okay? Same kind of thing that we did before. But now, and how he kind of got his, I don't know, cold water bath, I don't know, into shows and stuff is we were sharing, because I was still working my 9 to 5, and my good friend Jamie Mills Price had said, why don't you come and share a booth? I'll put a corner in our booth and you can just be in ours, because, you know, we didn't have time to drive a booth down or anything. And so we were in her booth. Well, one year when Mr. Don made the reservations and stuff, and you have to, when you make a reservation for a booth, you put down what name tags you want. Well, at that point in time, I don't know why, because anyway, we aren't sure why, but Don he put my name, but he didn't put Shane's. He just put David Lute, because that's his son's name, and he thought, well, they've helped before, so maybe they'll come and it'll at least, and then he put his daughter-in-law's name, and just so he had some names to turn in, basically. And so when we got to the show, Don said to Shane, do you want to be my son or do you want to be my daughter-in-law? Your choice. And so Shane chose to be Don's son. And he told us that we're sisters. Oh, well, we kind of are separated at birth, Glennis, kind of. But they thought that Shane and Don were father and son. And they thought that was so funny, so funny. And so they're trouble at those shows. And yeah, well, we all kind of are. And then poor Jamie, she's shy and she doesn't, you know, she probably is has a little bit of traumatic experience to chat with you about, if the truth were told. Okay, so I'm going to take this red spice, and I'm going to just do my just some letters, and I'm using a liner brush. When you're using a liner brush, if you want your lines to be nice and even, put some pressure on that brush. It's kind of like getting a teenage son or your husband to take out the trash. You ask them and you ask them and you ask them, but it's not until you put some pressure on that they will actually sometimes do it. And so make sure you put that pressure on so that that brush behaves accordingly, you know. And so I'm just putting them on. I want them to look kind of funky and rustic. I'm not paying attention to which way they face exactly. And that is what I do on this. Now I want them to look like a little farm stand kind of a thing, and so I misspelled pumpkin. I know that's not for everyone. You could put any kind of thing, just put fresh on there or whatever, and that would be fine too. One time at Vegas, we were helping to set up for Jamie's classes, and that particular time she was teaching 2 big 100-person classes back to back, and so we were busy, and we were busy all day long, and so it needed a little bit of lightening up. And I'm always accusing my husband of being the instigator. And if you don't know who Jamie is, it's Jamie Mills Price of Between the Vines, and she's a beautiful, beautiful painter. She's traveled the world to paint and teach others to paint, and she just does beautiful work. So check her out if you haven't, or if you don't know who I'm talking about. But so we were getting ready for the second session, and I had seen in the gift shop at the Tropicana, as we were going down the escalator, that they had some t-shirts that were a little bit, well, some of them were really borderline offensive, and but there was a few that were just funny and wouldn't offend anyone. And so I bought Shane and Dawn t-shirts, and those t-shirts said, "I pooped today." And so we got Jamie all set up, and she was introducing the class and all ready to go and all of the things. And here Dawn and Shane had gone in the back hall and changed into their new t-shirts and came down the main aisle, and she looked up and was mortified when she saw what they were doing. So we had some fun things go on there for sure. But I've said this over and over too. If Jamie sends me something and I see it come in the mail and she's hand written it or whatever, I think it's my handwriting. We have similar handwriting. We think with a very similar brain, and talk without words sometimes, and just definitely one of my best friends. So I treasure her. Okay. So, and without her, I wouldn't be doing this either. So, by the way. So, she and Dawn offered to mentor me, and how could I say no? Okay, I've got to put my little polka dots on the back, but I switched to a stylus, but I've got a fresh puddle of paint because the fresh puddle works a little bit better for making dip dots. And so I just want a few little polka dots to kind of tie in. And I'll put a few on, and maybe I'll go back and do a few more, just depending on how it looks. It's always a little bit different with each time you do it, because I don't pick up the same stylists or anything. This one does need a couple more. I thought it might. And what's funny is none of us drink. Might have a glass. Jamie or I might have a glass of wine with dinner or something. But so this was completely non-Vegas like, in that, you know, it wasn't fueled by something other than just being silly. So just making it a little bit rustic. You could do, you know, just whimsical fun. This isn't anything real tedious or crazy. Okay. So just these little dip dots. And I don't use anything special for these. Like, you know, earlier I used a brush handle. You can use whatever you have handy that will make a little consistent thing. And I don't want them necessarily the same size or anything like that. Now I can sand these edges when they're dry, and I will, but I'm certainly not going to do that now with the dots being wet. So, okie dokie. So we've got all of that done. Let's see how we are with this. They're a little bit tender in that I can poke them with my fingernail, but they're not going to smear. So I am going to turn this over, and before I do anything else, I'm going to grab my little liner and put on that beak. And remember, last time I put on the bright color, didn't like it, and then went over it with some honey brown. So I'm going to do that same thing on the other side, so it kind of goes together. And then I'll just grab a little bit of white while it's still wet and just streak that over it. Wipe off my brush and then go back over it just to kind of soften it. I don't want it real, I don't know, jump out and grab you. So if I put some on there and then go just stroke over it, it's just going to be enough, right? I don't want this to stick to the front side, so I'm going to put this extra wing that I have underneath it, and that will keep it up off the cardboard so it doesn't stick. That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned about. I'm going to take the end of my brush and put on a little eye, and I made that a little bit deeper or bigger. And then I want to just put on the word hello. And I want this, I'm going to kind of dry fit this because I don't want the hello to be too crunched, but I have these things to put on too. And I want them to be fairly even with the stick that it's going to be sitting on. Plus, I don't want this to interfere with poking it in the stand. And I don't need very much room, but I want to make sure I have plenty. So I want these to be a little bit off. And that will work out pretty okay. So I'm going to then just kind of sketch on hello. And I think that I did the hello before a lot bigger than I probably should have. So I'm going to just do, I know I'm going to put on my wattle and my comb, so I don't want to get in the way of that. And I'm just going to start Okay, so that should work. And then I'll put some leaves and things around it. So I'm going to take these off. There we go. I'm going to go to my same old green I've been using. I've been using Hauser Medium, so on this one you're going to use whatever color you want, whatever green you've been using. And I'm just going to take my liner brush and I'm going to trace around my pattern. Now I also have a a lettering group, and we concentrate on lettering with a paintbrush. So that's on Wednesdays, and it is really fun. We concentrate on lettering, but we also do theming and doodling, and so you're learning a little bit about drawing and theming and carrying through a theme and all of that. So I've just got that on there, and it's not perfect, but it's going to be good enough for this. We're going to dry it so we can get that chalk off of there. And we're closing in on it, you guys. We're closing in on it. Now, the glue that I like to use for something like this is Titebond Quick and Thick. It's a little bit slower. You have to be careful about it sliding, but in the end, it really does hold the best for something like this. So that's what I would recommend, but use whatever your favorite is. I'm going to put that little black dot in there for the eye. And then I'm going to use a brush to get the water to work to take off the chalk line. You want to use a brush that has a little bit of, it's a little stiff, but not too much, with just a little bit of water, not a lot, and just kind of go over it. Don't scrub too much though, because this paint is fresh, and so it will come off or reactivate if you're not careful. Okay, so I've got that chalk line off. So now what I want to do is go back and thicken my downstrokes. I'm thinking about how my pen would react if I were writing this with a pen. So I'm going to thicken up every one of those strokes that I made that were going down. So that one goes down. This one goes down. This one, ooh, that's really thick. Ooh, hoo, hoo. The L. And then the O. And now while that's wet, what I'll do is go into my white just to make a little bit lighter color. I could go into something like foliage green or another, light green, but I can also do it this way and just make a lighter green, and that's fine too. And then what I'll do is in the mid runs of this lettering, you could also use a white paint pen, but in the mid runs of this lettering, I'll just put a little bit of that light color just to kind of highlight. Now I could still use my white paint pen when I do the outside border of this. And you wouldn't have to do the vines if you didn't want to. Hi, Fatima. Well, I've missed you being there, friend. Sorry, I didn't even see your comment. I was looking at my phone, and some of my some of my messages are coming up in one place but not the other, and so I missed it. So I hope you haven't been waiting long, but I'm glad you're here now. And then you can add some vines and stuff around here. Just, I thought I would make it look a little bit like a pumpkin patch. And so just a few little swirls and maybe a leaf or two. Just like this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So just a few little, you don't want a ton because it's going to distract from what you've got going, but just a few little bits and bobs here and there, and take up some of the space, and some of it might get covered or whatever. So but that's about all you need to do, and we can even go over that with a little bit of the paint pen if you wanted. So after that is done, all we have left before we can start putting this together is our white paint pen. And all these pens, you would think that there would be something that would work right here. Well, goodness sakes. I'm finding all the ones I don't need and none of the ones I do need. Usually I use a finer white paint pen, but this one will work for now. And I usually use Artistro. Oh, thank you. It's, oh, I'm so glad you like them, Patty. It's really a lot of practice with the liner brush, but it's also using the size that you need, because you really have to put pressure on a liner brush or any kind of brush that you want to make an even line with, and that's really a critical part. And so on the edge, I just want to take and put a quick little outline. This one is almost dry, or maybe I haven't used it in a while. And so that broken line is going to help you so that it's not going to look like it's crooked or anything like that. And so it works to your advantage. Sorry about that. Of course, I'm going to have the only one that's standing out to me be the one that is going, it's not going to work. Holy macaronis. You guys. So just a little, how is it that I have, I don't know, I don't have gazillions of them, but I certainly have more than one. Where in the world? I can find, well, this should be interesting. This is the Sharpie paint pen, which I really like, but they just are thicker. So we're gonna just, now I'll have to go over my other parts, but once that other part is gone over, I really think that this does need a thinner one, but rather than have you have to wait, I can go over what I've already done, and as long as it's consistent, it's not going to matter. I'm just using as little pressure as I possibly can. But these Sharpie paint pens really work nice. They're just, I wish that they came in a finer size. I don't know. Part of my stuff, because I had COVID when we got home from convention, part of my stuff isn't unpacked too, so that's part of it. But it looks fine, and once we get the other parts and pieces that are glued on, it's gonna look just fun. So we'll glue this all together. Like I said, I like the Titebond Quick and Thick for this. And so just a little bit of random. Remember, I am going to sand these edges. Oops, that didn't work. And I am going to sand these edges and make it a little bit more distressed. So those will go on there, and then this little guy kind of just goes off to the side. Now this should be dry. You can use a gator sander, but another thing that you can use, these are just little sanding blocks that I get from Amazon, and you can use these too. They work really well to just sand edges and do some light distressing. And what happens is when you sand the edges, it helps them to just have a little more pop off of the background. And so especially on these little parts and pieces, it will help them stand out. So you can see how when that's sanded, it's going to help it to stand out a little bit. So that's the back side, so you're going to glue that in place. And then on the front side, and just in 2 hours, I am right on schedule, yay, yay, yay. Then on the front side, you're going to just thread your button with your jute, and you're going to glue it on here. Okay, then you'll put your comb up here. Oh, wrong, I grabbed the wrong one. This one, and then you're going to have this one, and then you're going to be able to sand all those edges. You don't need to watch me do all that because you can do that part. You can do that part. And then we're going to put, and I did base coat both sides of these because I wanted them to, I knew they were going to show from both sides. And then I'll be able to sand these edges, put a little bit of black paint pen, and I'll do that before we're done. Some black paint pen on the leaves, like so, and glue those on, and then you've got that all together. The last thing is going to be the base, so you'll take the larger one, place the smaller one on top of it, and make sure that that slit is lined up. Let's see if we can get this to show. That slit is lined up even before you glue it. Is it gonna? It's not going to show. But you want that to be something. Let's see if we can get that to show. You can see how that you can get lined up and evened up and all of that. So I am feeling better, Chris. Thank you so much. You guys, if you're not following Chris Meyer-Williams, you need to. She was my neighbor across the walkway on the trade floor at OKC. She has awesome things. She's kind of a Renaissance gal right now, undergoing some different things in her business, and has beautiful, beautiful patterns and finished items. And so if you're not following her, you might want to. You may have seen her on demos online and stuff. So make sure that you're giving her a follow. Okay, along with other people, if they come in on their business names, please make sure you're following them. So Chris, if you want to drop in your link for your business name, that would be fantastic so people know where to go. But see how that little bit of sanding just makes all the difference. So you're going to glue those together, and then this little chicken will sit in there just perfect. So I said that we would go around the edges there of. Now I know I was holding a black paint pen, you guys. I know I was, because I went, oh, I don't need black, I need white. Okay. And now that I need black, it's hiding too. So, okay, fine. Fine. I really need to unpack all that stuff so that I don't have to go through this. Do you ever do that? Have something happen and it interrupts your, like for me, unpacking. And so now I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And then I get stuck with this whole COVID brain thing that, as if it wasn't bad enough when I get scattered, when I get a lot of things going on. So, oh well. There it is. So Chris has just dropped her Etsy link in the description. And so make sure you take a look at what she's got and what she's doing. And I know she's probably, are you going to be live on the online market spot this weekend? I bet she is. Oh, thank you. She still says I'm a delight. So either she's a fibber or she's easily fooled, you guys. I don't know. I don't know which. I don't know. Okay, so I've got my leaves here. I've got my leaves. And whatever works for you is what's going to be the best. And I just like a little kind of wiggly line all the way around that's broken. And it kind of just gives it a little crunchy leaf look. And then if you want to put kind of the indication of some vein lines, you can. If not, don't worry about it. Okay, so she's got an on. You're doing your first one, Angie? Oh, yay! You guys, you got to go check out my friends on the online market spot this weekend. I am not going to be available. I'm going to be outside of an internet situation, so we will be at our friend's lake property, and so I'm not going to be on it, but there's going to be some great things, and there's some new people that joined us in the online market spot, so you don't want to miss it. Angie and her sister do laser cut items, and it's just going to be, I'm glad you said something. Do you want to drop your business name in the comments so that people can see and follow you and all those things? Last year, Angie and her sister were in a class I was teaching, and I don't know who talked to her more. So if you're new or if you've got a business, go ahead and drop it in the comments so people can see what you're all about. So we've got all of those things, those little parts and pieces done. Once you have it glued together, it's going to look just like this. Know that you're going to be able to have access to this recording, and you're on Facebook as Sisters on Board. Perfect. So all of these little pieces will go together just like so. You can see the back of the black pumpkin there. Put a little bit of spray varnish on it if you want spray. I usually brush varnish, but on these little pieces, sometimes that's a little bit awkward, so you don't want to do that. If it's kind of fussy work in order to brush on the varnish. I don't mind it when I'm varnishing. Usually I'm varnishing a whole bunch of stuff, so that's something that you can do. One of the things that I didn't know about when I put this together that I know about now is the covered floral wire, and it looks like rusty wire, and I like it to make the tendrils on pumpkins and stuff. So add your own parts and pieces, add your own bits and bobs, post it when you're done in the Caboodle Doodles page, along with other things that you finish up, and say, hey, look at this, hey, look at that. It doesn't have to be just my things. It can be something else that you've done. That's a place to show off or ask questions or get input or whatever it is that you have kind of going on. Let's see here. Oh, Barb is on there for sure. Cheryl, do you have a sale this weekend? But there will be a lot of people. Go to the online market spot by Crafters and Creatives, ask to join. It's the same as the Craft Around the Clock group. You just have to answer a couple questions. You get approved. That way they know that you're likely not somebody who's going to come in and do some horrible things. yesterday, one of my friends was doing a live, and she was doing it on Comments Sold, having a sale. And there was somebody who got on there, and her daughter and her, I guess it would be daughter-in-law, help her, and young girls. And there was someone who came on there. You guys, I have never seen someone talk like that on a live, period. TikTok, anywhere. I mean, it was grotesque, it was foul, it was horrific. By the time my friend got off, she was in tears because of what this person had done to those two young girls, and insinuated and called them and all of the things. Those are the situations that we're trying to avoid in these groups. We want to craft, we want to have fun, we want it to be a positive space. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world. We certainly don't want to worry about that on here. That's why when you go into a group, you're asked to answer questions. It's to keep that kind of stuff out. And so it's about your safety, it's about your peace of mind, and it's about, nobody needs to feel mad like that. Nobody. And it was infuriating, because I know those people too. So don't let that happen, and help. That's why when we're asked to answer a couple of questions, it's not just to be nosy or whatever. It's really to keep everyone safe. So, oh, Glennis, oh my gosh, embarrassing. Absolutely, it was pornographic is what it was. It was just in a verbal way. It was horrific. And then to be the mom in that situation, where that is certainly not what you want to put it, and when you go live through Comments Sold, you have no way to block people. And so it was like her hands were tied, and it was just awful. I was mortified for them. So, it's just small businesses trying to do what small businesses do, and there's people out there that get their fun out of making it miserable. So we don't want that. Oh, me too. Why is right. It was despicable. It really, really was. And I am quite certain that my friend, if I bring it up to her, it will make her cry again. It was that bad. So I told her that she should record it and do a non-emergency report to the police, because if that person comes back, she needs to have some sort of recourse. So sad, very, very sad. So anyway, that's why we do it. That's why we keep it safe. Go to the online market spot by Crafters and Creatives this weekend. Not only will there be sales of finished goods and supplies and different things, there's also going to be demos and free things that, it's a fun place to be when there's a sale weekend. I look forward to next month being able to do it. And thank you so much for doing this free class with me, you guys. There will be something, my bully friend on here, my friend Glennis, that I say bully with all kinds of love in my heart. It's really not true. But she says I'm doing a Christmas one. So stay tuned. There's going to be a Christmas one. Also, I kind of teased out that there might be a cow or so coming, your direction. Or maybe a herd. It could be a herd. We've got the whole coop of chickens now. So, but we'll keep doing those. They're just a lot of fun and just silly. So, if you need more chickens, if you need the fall kit, they are on the website. And I so appreciate you spending time. It's so fun. I so appreciate you spending time with me today. I don't take it lightly. I couldn't do what I get to do without all of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you all. Have a great day, and I will see you soon. This is Lizbeth Stoll, Cottage Caboodle. Bye, you guys.